Southern California, good evening and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. There's been a lot of craziness going on, but I will try to get through it to the best of my abilities. The Lakers and the Clippers, they're both one win away from advancing to the second round of the playoffs. However, we don't know if there will be when the next games will be. Game 5 was supposed to be tonight for the Lakers, but unfortunately, that's going to be postponed. Also, helping me out is a special guest, which I'll be introducing in a little bit. Also, Dodgers have canceled their games as well, and the Angels, well, they're still the Angels. So that's a thing. But how about the LA Galaxy upsetting LAFC in El Tráfico 2-0 this past Saturday? Big win for the Galaxy. That should help boost their confidence. We have all that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are listening to this, and welcome to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I'm your host, Teran Rodriguez, and without any further delay, let's get ill with that pill. And on that note of a bad pun, let us get into some basketball action. But first, helping me out with the basketball action is the same guest I had last week. He is my brother from the same mother. Introducing the one, the only, Mr. Justin Rodriguez. Justin, how you doing?
Doing okay. I mean, all things considered. As you mentioned at the top of the show, there's no games going on right now, so that's kind of taking the wind out of my sails. But it is what it is, and I support the Milwaukee Bucks and what they're doing to boycott, postpone, whatever you want to call it. I don't blame them.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with them. So, yeah, going into tonight's game, the Lakers were pretty much one win away from advancing to the second round of the playoffs. Many people thought the Trailblazers were going to win, but the Lakers just started to get hot, especially on Mamba Day. So, Justin, what did you like about how the Lakers played on Mamba Day, and what were some positives that you took away from that?
Well, what wasn't a positive? It was all Lakers, that game was over before it started. But it's funny. You mentioned Mamba Day. At one point, I even posted this on my Instagram. You can go to my Instagram at justrod_VB. At one point, the Lakers were leading the Trailblazers 24-8. Tell me that's not a coincidence.
Absolutely, it is not a coincidence. Those are the numbers of Kobe Bryant, so that was a definite nostalgia. Even LeBron says, "Okay, Kobe is in the gymnasium." So continue on, Justin. If you have any more to talk about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll just touch on what you just said about LeBron. After the game, LeBron, LeBron was being interviewed, he said he definitely, there was so much going on that day, with he mentioned it was Kobe Bryant's birthday and Mamba Day, and with everything going on, in Wisconsin and the social unrest. I mean, LeBron, just took all his put all his emotions out on the court, and played a hell of a game, and the Lakers followed suit. And now that Damian Lillard's out, or at least for the near future, like you said, we don't know when and if they're going to be resuming play, but assuming they will get back to things, the Lakers, should close it out with no problem.
Great stuff right there, and obviously losing Damian Lillard for the Blazers is tough, but injuries are part of the game, unfortunately. Like, I'd like to see the Lakers beat the Blazers at full strength, especially with Zach Collins. Like, they've already got Zach Collins out, and losing him was tough considering the Lakers play some big time bully ball with their big boys like Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and it's tough. And without Zach Collins, Hassan Whiteside and Yusuf Nurkic have to pretty much carry the load. So it is tough. Yeah. But honestly, you have to give credit to the Blazers. They are resilient, and the fact that they got this far is quite amazing. I just think they kind of ran out of gas, and we'll see what happens if the NBA postpones it to tomorrow, or they postpone it to Friday, or whatever. I mean, it sucks that we don't have any NBA games, but I like the stand that the players are taking in, especially when it came to Doc Rivers yesterday in his emotional interview. Like, it was really amazing, and he talked about how his father was a cop, and there are good cops and whatnot. Like, we're not going to get too touchy into this. I also got to make note that this is a disclaimer that these are the opinions and thoughts of myself, Teran Rodriguez, and my guest, Justin Rodriguez, and no third-party associated groups and selective courses and whatnot. So just got to clear that out of the way.
Reflect the views of IE Sports Radio.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, our opinions don't reflect the views of IE Sports Radio. So, and it's also in the description as well. So, just in case the anti-fun police are out there. So, on that note of mentioning Doc Rivers, the Clippers came back and bounced back in a big way after losing Game 4 to the Dallas Mavericks. They stomped all over the Mavs in Game 5, and they're also one win away from the second round as well. So, do you think we actually... So, Justin, let me ask you this. Do you think we actually saw the actual Clippers of the NBA playoffs, or do we still have, or is the best yet to come for the Clippers?
Well, the Clippers we were looking for, the team that was supposed to be, one of the favorites to win the NBA championship, showed up for the first time, at least in this series. I mean, especially Paul George. What's the stat line for a sec? Yeah, he played only 25 minutes, yet he had 35 points, and 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 12 for 18 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3-point land. Yeah, he was on fire, and after the Game 4 debacle, everybody was calling for, wondering where the heck is Paul George? He's on the milk carton, and he answered the bell, under the tutelage of his coach Doc Rivers.
Yes, and Playoff P finally showed up. I was calling him Potato P, Pooped Out P, Pandemic P.
Oh God, I wouldn't say that last part. No.
I know, but we finally got to see the real Paul George, and the Paul George that we all come to expect. So, So I'm glad Paul George finally showed up, and he kind of got slander. And there's no better way to motivate yourself than slander on Twitter, or not like slander, but like motivation. Before we continue on, gotta give a big shout to the chat room. Big shout to Larry B saying game time, and Davidson Crooks just joined us saying what's good. So thank you two for joining in. And if anyone else is joining in, I also appreciate you joining in as well. So, yeah. So, the Clippers, I think, pretty much have this series on lock, especially if Kristaps Porzingis comes back. And the sooner, if and whenever they get to play Game 6, the sooner they win that game, the sooner they'll get more rest until they have to face either Utah or Denver. Heaven forbid if Denver comes back and wins the series, because that basically is...
Well, yeah, I don't think that series is over. I mean, I originally picked Denver to win in 7. You know, it's still a possibility. You know, like I said in last week's podcast. You know, there's no home court. There's no home court advantage. You know. Everything's all about momentum. Utah had the momentum, at least going into, you know, the second half of game 5 yesterday. But but give Denver a lot of credit. You know, especially Jamal Murray. He had a hell of a game. You know, and you know, I mean, so far Denver has the momentum. I mean, we'll see if this. If this layoff, you know, somehow kills the momentum, or you know, however long it goes on, you know, but you know, hopefully they do come back soon, because you know these Western Conference playoffs overall have been absolutely fantastic, you know, really good, you know, again considering all the circumstances surrounding it, you know, all these teams are putting on a great show.
And without a doubt, like the Western Conference playoffs have definitely been the more like entertaining. Like they're not. I mean, nothing against the Eastern Conference. I mean, some of the Eastern Conference teams that have been sweeping away, they've blown me away. Especially the Miami Heat. They were kind of the surprise pick. I thought their series was going to go 7, but to me, I think them sweeping was the big surprise. And I think, to me, Indiana is one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA playoffs.
I would say the most disappointing, you know, because they have a lot of good players. I mean, they had a really impressive win against the Lakers, you know, in one of the seeding games. I was thinking this is going to be a team to watch out for, but obviously that didn't materialize, and they just fired their coach Nate McMillan either this morning or yesterday, one of the two.
Yeah, it was early this morning, and they pretty much gave the boot to Nate McMillan, and I don't know. I kind of think he should have been fired. I kind of felt like it's tough to tell, because Nate McMillan is a great coach. He is. He's
a great defensive coach. Mm-hmm. Has been for a long time.
Yeah, spent his time in Seattle. I think he spent some time in Portland. So I don't know. Whatever team swoops him up is going to be one lucky team. Like, I think I'd pick him over Brett Brown. No offense to any.
You think Nate McMillan gets another job?
I think so. I think he gets another possibility.
The only reason why I ask is because Nate McMillan is like kind of one of those like old school, you know, hard nosed coaches. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like really, you know, really tough on people. You know, like, you know, you got to be men amongst boys. You know, and not that I have a problem with that. You know, it's just, you know, this new generation. You know, they respond to things, you know, differently from the generation generation of NBA players you and I grew up on.
Without a doubt, and I totally agree. I think that what Nate McMillan has is that old school aspect. I think he's from the old school, which I think some of the new NBA players like are tough to adapt to, and it's for good reason. But honestly, I think Nate McMillan should get another chance, at least as like an assistant coach. And shout to Larry B in the chat room saying, who thinks Justin should be the show's permanent co-host? I wouldn't mind that.
Larry.
I honestly wouldn't mind that. I think Justin definitely does well in the NBA portion, and I would be down to have him as a permanent co-host. And the possibilities are endless with him. So we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I'd love to do it.
Obviously, he and I are busy, but it'd be cool if us brothers were to be the permanent host for the show. So we'll have to see. So as for the Thunder Rockets series, and this probably might be the end of our little NBA segment. So for the time being, but the Thunder Rockets, started off hot, and it looked like they were pretty much gonna splash the Thunder out of the series. Unfortunately, the Thunder had other plans, winning that big game in overtime and then winning that close game 4, which tied the series at 2-2. So tonight was actually supposed to be game 5, and unfortunately, everything is postponed. So what are your thoughts about how the Oklahoma City Thunder have come back and pretty much have now made this a series? And now it's just a best of 2 out of 3 series, and whoever wins 2 games goes on to the next round, where they will more than likely face the Lakers, because let's be honest, the Portland Trailblazers are 0-11 when it comes to being down 3-1.
And without Damian Lillard, they have no hope of winning this series. Excuse me. To answer your question was, am I surprised at how well OKC has battled back?
Yes, and what are your thoughts about OKC battling back despite Houston being such a great offensive team?
Well, I'm not too surprised. I'm a little bit surprised, but at the same time, it just goes to show you, the mental toughness of Chris Paul, and his resolve. Granted, he's only been to one conference finals, but at the same time, he's still one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen, and he's like we said about Damian Lillard, he put the Oklahoma City Thunder on his back, and nobody even thought that OKC would even make the playoffs, but Chris Paul and Billy Donovan have really done a great job leading them to this point, and they hung tough, and they held on and won those last 2 games. But at the same time, I'm just not a huge fan of Houston's style of basketball. You know the saying, you live by the long ball, you die by the long ball. Well, they do both. They live and die. So more often than not, they have great shooting nights, and that's enough for them to win games. But at the same time, if you have bad shooting nights, what's your alternative? They don't have, they hardly have any guys over. I don't think they have any guys actually over 6'7". I could play center for the Houston Rockets. I'm 6'5", by the way. So yes. So it's just, it's just like D'Antoni's offense on steroids, and I'm sorry, that just doesn't win you championships. Even if the Houston Rockets are lucky enough to get through, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not going to beat the Lakers playing like that. Maybe they'll get a game. That's it. They're too big.
Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree, and I've basically bashed Houston in the past. I just pretty much said that they were a high school team or a team full of Oompa Loompas for the most part. So, yeah, and Marcus Losgrade actually pointed this out a few weeks ago in the chat room, that the Houston Rockets are the kings of the regular season. Just the kings of the regular season. The postseason is a whole different animal, And I know they have James Harden, but he can only carry them so far, along with Russell Wilson, P.J. Tucker, Eric Gordon, Ben McLemore, and many others as well. Again, you said it best. They'll get a game or two off the Lakers, or heaven forbid, the Blazers. But I don't see them going to the conference finals. And even if they make the conference finals, they would get ran out the gym by the Clippers or the Jazz or the Nuggets. I'm sorry,
they're not getting past the second round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it the best. Their head coach is Mike D'Antoni, a.k.a. No D D'Antoni. So
Mike Antoni. Is what we used to call him when he was here with the Lake, coaching the Lake.
Yes, Mike Antoni, because his style is no defense. Like, you look at who he's coached. He coached Phoenix with Steve Nash, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Raja Bell, Leandro Barbosa. They didn't win jack. I mean, Steve Nash won an MVP, and they got to the conference finals, but the Spurs kind of stonewalled them with Tim Duncan.
That's the best team he's ever had.
Exactly. And then he eventually went to the Los Angeles Lakers, and he ruined what was once a great culture after Phil Jackson left. So, and now he's with Houston. He's gotten them to the conference finals, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, you got to actually win the NBA finals. Like, there's no moral victories. There's no such thing as make it to the conference finals. Like, it's impressive, but you didn't win the Larry O'Brien trophy. Like, that's the problem. Like, like I said, there's no moral victories.
Well, people remember titles, in the long run in the history of the NBA.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and David C. Crooks forgot about the Knicks run.
Yeah,
well,
do
we? I mean, I don't really want to mention the Knicks run, considering the poor Knicks fans. And let's just say this happened. Yeah, we don't really mention the Knicks, but yeah, I guess we could also mention the Knicks and how he didn't win a championship with them, and he eventually got ran out as well. So, sorry. I just don't think... I mean, he's a good coach, but he's not a great coach. Doesn't have that mentality like Doc Rivers does, or Nick Nurse. Even Brad Stevens is a better coach than him, honestly. I mean, he coaches in the Eastern Conference, but for the most part, I'd probably go to war with Brad Stevens' squad. So either D'Antoni's style has to change, or he just can't be a head coach. I mean, I'm sorry, but as a Laker fan, I didn't really like him as a head coach. I didn't like No D D'Antoni. So sorry, Mike. All right, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up on everything in regards to the past matches, the past NBA games. So, as for what's going on, every game is postponed, which sucks, but I understand where the players are going on, and it's not just the players. The coaches are right behind the players, and even like some of the analysts are behind them, like Kenny Smith. Like, Kenny Smith just walked off the set and after a while, like, he just said, "I'm just not comfortable, and I don't feel comfortable doing this." So, what are your thoughts?
Wait, hold on. Let's set the table a little bit. So, like, which episode are you talking about? Are you talking about like last night's Inside the NBA, or you're talking about like the special? Because like right, but at the time we're taping this, like, it was about an hour or so before we started taping this podcast. The TNT did a special, like this Inside the NBA special on the situation that's going on in the NBA and the postponement of games, and shedding a light on what's going on, and in Wisconsin, in Minneapolis, and what's going on with racial injustice. I didn't get to watch that, by the way, but but which one are you referring to?
The Inside the NBA kind of went on before. I think it went on an hour. I think it was like an hour before.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. They went on.
So it was today.
Yeah, it went on an hour before we went on, and Kenny Smith just walked off the set. And Ernie Johnson, I respect Ernie Johnson for saying I respect that, and I don't blame him. So. And I respect Kenny Smith as well for doing that, because he said it best. As a black man or African American, and as a former NBA player, I stand with what's going on with the NBA and how they're just protesting and whatnot. So, I mean, I definitely respect the whole Inside the NBA crew. Like, they work a lot, and over there it's like wee hours. I think it's like 3 hour difference.
So they're in Atlanta. Yeah, it's a 3 hour difference.
Yeah, 3 hour difference. So, in other words, it is 7 or 8:28 over there, whereas in Pacific time it's 5:28. Like, they're drinking coffee and pretty much trying to stay awake. And obviously they love to have fun and all, but in a moment where times are serious, they're not making jokes anymore. So, I respect Kenny Smith for what he did, and I respect the whole. If they all decide to pretty much protest with the players, then more power to them. Like, it's not just... Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your thought, and I'll rebut.
And it's not just the NBA that's in on this. The WNBA was in on this as well. Like, I think the Washington Mystics...
All the sports leagues. So you mentioned at the top of the podcast, a lot of baseball teams have decided they're not going to play. I've never seen anything like this before, to be honest with you. I mean, it was one thing to suspend all the all the sports leagues due to the coronavirus, also started by the NBA, but I mean this is different. I mean, I've never actually seen, at least not in my lifetime, where something as serious and powerful as this is made the sports climate, decide to, just suspend all play until further notice, because, I mean, you gotta put yourself in their shoes. Like, I think the NBA's done a fantastic job, since this restart of, managing, their ability to play and still be a platform for social justice. And it's not working, and we're still seeing all these issues going on today, like what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, so and I don't know if it's ever going to change. I mean, I've never been in law enforcement, but I've studied criminal justice, and I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I've even worked, somewhat alongside police departments as an intern, and it's a culture thing. These police forces and police unions, they operate like a brotherhood. So to me, why this is happening, it's a cultural problem, and it's a training problem. It's not like they're not being trained, but somebody, I was listening to Mason in Ireland, and he said that, Mason said that he was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and somebody pointed out, a really good point. It's not, the training isn't the issue; it's the retraining that's a problem. Like, after they go and train at the police academy, it's most of the time it's like, okay, we're done. We don't have to train anymore. We just go out and do our thing as police, and that's not the way to go. There should be trainings, and there should be retrainings as far as like how to apprehend criminals and de-escalation of hostile situations. So yeah, I agree with that. It's just like in sports teams, retraining and in practice, practice makes perfect, and we it's practice makes perfect, and repetition's the mother of all learning. Everybody needs to do that, no matter what profession they're in.
Absolutely, and without a doubt. And you pretty much just touched base upon everything. And interesting fact, as we'll get into the WNBA action, the Washington Mystics were actually supposed to play today, and going out within their. But all the WNBA games have been postponed. But when they went out with their like protesting and kneeling on the court, they had like their warm-up shirt consisted of spelling out the words Jacob Blake, and they had one, like, players had like J and then A and then C O B and then it's spelt out Blake.
Every player wore a T-shirt, with one letter in his name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that wasn't the kicker. The kicker, however, there were 7 holes in the back of the shirt. So, and in case in case you're wondering, Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back.
Knows by now.
Yeah, but for those that are living under a rock, yes, Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back, and he's paralyzed from the waist down, which is obviously sad.
But at least he's alive. Thank God he's alive.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is. And the man upstairs did his job and helped Jacob still be alive and kicking. But that's just great. Like, what's the word? It's like great representation, or just great foreshadowing of what happened with Jacob. And it really is great that the WNBA is following suit, and how they're just like they're all in on this. Like they're following the NBA's footsteps, and the WNBA is no joke. Like, they want their voices to be heard, and as some of us know, that some of the MLB games have been canceled, such as the Brewers and.
Yeah, the Brewers game was canceled. Yeah, I think the Dodgers game's canceled too, and the Giants and Padres game.
The Giants actually play the Dodgers, I believe, and I think they're actually going to be. Oh no, it is postponed. Yeah, the games that are postponed are Dodgers, Giants, Mariners, Padres, Reds and Brewers. Angels and Astros are postponed. However, they're postponed because of the hurricane that's going down in Houston, and everyone here in California sends their best to everyone in Houston, and hope everyone is safe.
Louisiana, for that matter. It's also affecting Louisiana too. I mean,
yes.
I know there aren't any baseball teams in Louisiana, but still, I mean, it's, oh my God, there's so much craziness happening in our world. Like, I was, Extreme had. Extreme, it was a heavy metal band from the late 80s, early 90s. They had a song called "Stop the World, I Want to Get Off." That's how I feel about 2020. Just stop the world, I want to get off.
Oh, I definitely agree. And long story short, 2020 sucks. Yeah. Let's just go to 2021. So yeah, let's just like fast forward, restart to everything fresh, and just.
Can I throw this in here?
Go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think what you were trying to say is, with the protests, and whether it be the NBA, the WNBA, Major League Baseball, I mean, we have a God-given right in this country, under the First Amendment to protest, and there's no right or there's no right or wrong way to protest. Again, it's our rights as American citizens to organize and protest, any injustices that we feel, whether it be, against the government, against police brutality, or against, government overreach, or whatever. I will say this though, if you are going to protest, do it peacefully. Don't don't create violence or havoc or riots or harass or accost people or destroy buildings or whatnot, because that doesn't help. You're not protesting. You're committing crimes. You're committing violent acts, and you're actually hurting other people's lives in doing so. So please, if you're going to protest, do it peacefully, do it responsibly, and I'll leave it at that.
Great words, and couldn't have said it any better. And I'm glad you agree with that. And a big shout to Matt Hames, who just joined us in the chat room. He just said, "Just living 2020 by day, LOL. Never know what's going to happen next." And so yeah, it is quite the shocker. And yes, just be good, just be kind. It's a good thing to be kind. It's like it doesn't cost any money to be a good person, if you know what I'm saying. So just be kind. Don't be the change for the better, not for the worse. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah. So anyway, actually, before I let you go, Justin, I actually want to talk a little football with you. I want to talk some because football season actually starts in, I believe, a couple more weeks. I believe not next Thursday, but not next week, but I think the week after is the first game of the season. There are 15 more days until the first NFL game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans play. And obviously, with you being a Rams fan, what are you looking forward to with the Los Angeles Rams this year?
Well, I mean, I'm not expecting a whole lot, because both the Rams and the Chargers to me are question marks. I'm just hoping that Jared Goff has a great season, and he could be the Jared Goff of what was it, 2018 that got him to the Super Bowl. Last season he was okay, but he wasn't great, and it wasn't really all his fault. He didn't really have a lot of the offensive weapons that he had, the year that he got him to the Super Bowl. So I mean, if you could shed some light on, maybe what pieces they have added that might help the Rams.
So the Rams definitely do have some good pieces. I believe they have Cooper Kupp still. They did lose Todd Gurley to free agency. They lost, and they also have Robert Woods, a former USC standout. They did lose Brandon Cooks to a trade to the Houston Texans, but they got the Texans' second-round pick. And they still have Aaron Donald, so honestly,
I'm not too worried about their defense. I mean, they're still one of the best defensive teams in the league. It's just all I'm worried about is can the Rams put up points?
Yeah,
they used to.
Yeah, and their running back situation is going to be totally different. I believe it's going to be C.J. Henderson taking the snaps or something like that. I don't know if it's going to be Henderson, but either way, I think the Rams are in a tough division, being the NFC West. The 49ers are still good. The Seahawks are still up there. And even the Arizona Cardinals are on the rise. So it's going to be a tough season for the Rams. But who knows? Maybe they'll 9-7 is pretty good, and even though they didn't make the playoffs, and I think maybe the Rams will be that frisky team that proves everyone wrong. The Chargers, on the other hand, to me, I think the Chargers are better than everyone expects. Everyone is counting them out. I think everyone is saying they're going to go like 3-13 or 4-12. I don't expect them to win the Super Bowl, but I expect them to actually maybe compete for a playoff spot. I think they're better than 4-3 wins. Like I think they're around the range of like 6 to 10 wins at the most. Like 9-10 wins at the most, around 6 to 8 as the average. So if there was an over-under when it comes to the Chargers wins, I'd probably take the over, honestly, with no doubt about it, because I definitely think the Chargers have good pieces. On defense, they have Joey Bosa, they signed Chris Harris, they still have Casey Hayward, they have Melvin Ingram. I think Melvin Ingram is the contract dispute with Melvin Ingram has kind of ended for the time being. On Hard Knocks with the Chargers and the Rams, I did hear that there was some contract disputes with Melvin Ingram, but I think they've settled in. As for the Chargers' offense, I think the Chargers have a good offense. The problem is who's going to lead them. When it comes to leading them, they are forced to bank on Tyrod Taylor, or now he pronounces it as Tyrod, which is kind of threw me for a loop because everyone keeps calling him Tyrod. I think I'll still call him Tyrod. So
that's how I've always heard him being referred to as.
Yeah, and then you also have Justin Herbert, who is the rookie quarterback coming out of Oregon. I think we'll see him blossom in case Taylor just doesn't cut it, and sometime down the road, if the Chargers don't make the playoffs or they just get eliminated, I think we may see more Justin Herbert. But as for other offensive key pieces, they did lose Melvin Gordon to free agency, but honestly, I don't think that's too big of a thing because they lost him to the Broncos, but the Broncos already have, I believe, forget the other running back's name, but it's Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay's their big running back. I think Royce Freeman, that's him. Royce Freeman is their second running back, and then Gordon's third. And obviously, Gordon has the case of fumbleitis, which was seen in the Chargers game against the Titans and other games that Gordon has had. I'm not trying to bash Gordon or anything, but and also that contract dispute was that held him out a few games hurt him as well, and I'm totally fine with Austin Eckler, and I think Eckler's going to be something special, especially in Fantasy League, if Matt Hames can pretty much chime in on that, if you're still in the chat room, Matt. So, as for the receivers, Keenan Allen, I think is a solid wide receiver for them still, and Mike Williams, who I did hear that he hurt his shoulder, and his status for their game against the Bengals in the season opener is unknown, but I think Mike Williams should be fine. I think the Chargers at first said it wasn't serious, but now they're saying his status for the game against the Bengals, which is on a Sunday, is unknown. I still think the Chargers can win that game because the Bengals have a really bad offensive line, and with Joe Burrow, a rookie quarterback, at the helm, I think he's going to struggle against like Bosa and Melvin Ingram. So, I mean, Justin and I are like, I think Justin mainly is a Rams fan. I mean, I don't necessarily hate the Rams. I just like the Chargers more. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing the Rams win the Super Bowl. I was rooting for the Rams back in Super Bowl, back a couple of years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Well, you supported the Chargers, for a long time. Since they were still in San Diego, like for several years ago. I mean, you're a true, genuine Chargers fan. I don't think, I know some people who are LA Chargers fans, but I don't think there really are a whole lot of Chargers fans, in the greater Los Angeles area. I mean, if there are true blue Chargers fans, here in the greater Los Angeles area, they're like you. They supported the Chargers, pretty much all their lives. That's their team.
And without a doubt, and as we're pretty much talking about fans, we actually should be noting that the LA Rams and the LA Chargers will not have fans at their games this upcoming year, so there won't be any fans at SoFi Stadium. But for the Chargers, they're kind of used to not having to being pretty much out-fanned by the opposing team. So I guess I think the Chargers might be built for next season, considering they won't have to deal with the opposing team's fans outnumbering their fans, considering when it comes to their
go up against the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders also are not having fans at their games, so Raiders have to pretty much deal with the Chargers deal. So I think the Chargers could be built for.
A lot of teams are like that. It depends. It depends on the state they play in. Some states. Coronavirus restrictions are stricter than others. Here in California, we have we're one of the strictest states. In terms of state policies in relation to COVID-19. But there are some other teams, across the country that are able to let at least some fans in, because their numbers aren't as bad, or they don't have as strict guidelines as we do.
Yeah, and one of the teams that the Chargers will be playing that will be allowing some fans is the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs will be allowing, I think, 20% of their fan capacity. Now, does that mean they'll be mainly Chiefs fans? Probably, unless true Blue Chargers fans will fly out to Kansas City and Arrowhead Stadium to support the Chargers, and it could be possible. So
not a lot of people are flying, period. Again, because of COVID-19, so I doubt you're going to see a lot of that.
Oh yeah, that's true. A lot of the airports have shut down. Flights.
They haven't shut down. It's just not as many people are flying.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, and
because it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, you are right in that aspect. We probably will be seeing the majority of Chiefs fans, a lot of Chiefs fans, unless there are Chargers that live in Kansas City, but that's doubtful. Unless you're going undercover. So.
Well, it's a Chiefs town right now because they just won the Super Bowl.
Oh, for sure, and. Patrick Mahomes is. I could still pretty much see the Chiefs winning the AFC West, and honestly, and I don't know about the NFC West. I think the NFC West is wide open. It's tough for me to tell if time will tell if the Rams can actually make some noise in the NFC West. I think they can.
Agree. I don't really see a clear-cut winner in terms of the NFC West. I mean, they could win. I don't really expect them to win a whole lot of games. I think the Chargers could go. The Rams could go potentially 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they were last year. They were either 9-7 or 7-9.
9-7.
Yeah, they just missed out on the playoffs. I mean. By the way, with the new expanded playoff format, if they had that last year, they would have made the playoffs. So I think the Rams can sneak in, maybe at least as a wild card. We'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to see how the season goes in general as it relates to COVID.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, and I think the Cardinals are. I mean, it all depends. The Cardinals are good, but they still, Kyler Murray is still young, and they still have a lot of young key pieces. And to me, I think Larry B says Matt has returned. Hey, Larry B has returned as well. We're talking football, Larry B. So if you want to chime in, go ahead and do so. But yeah, the NFC West is kind of the. I feel that is one of the tougher leagues in the NFL. I obviously know that the NFC East is the weakest league, with the Cowboys and the Eagles being the front runners and all that. So I think the NFC West is the strongest division in the NFC, in my honest opinion. So I think the Rams can make some noise, but you also have to look out. You also have to watch for Seattle and San Fran, depending on if they get the Super Bowl hangover. That is kind of a thing, because the Rams actually had it when they just barely missed out on the playoffs. But to go 9-7 is pretty good, especially when you're in a loaded division as the NFC West. So, again, just my take. I think the Rams have a little bit more of a ceiling than the Chargers, but the Chargers are kind of that frisky team where most people don't expect them to do well. They actually just turn the tables and say, hey, we're actually going to do well, and ruin everyone's thoughts and predictions. So, who's to say? Like, we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a fun NFL season despite little to no fans, and I just hope at this point we get the NFL. I feel we will, though. Like, I'm not just saying that because Larry is a huge NFL fan, and we don't want anything. We don't want the NFL to get canceled. But honestly, I think we will get an NFL season. There just won't be fans. But again, Chargers are no strangers to not having a whole lot of fans at their games. So that's just me. So any parting thoughts or anything else you want to talk about before we head to a commercial break?
On anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I go, I just want to read this statement that the Milwaukee Bucks players released as of 4:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. George Hill and Sterling Brown, held a little conference, and they delivered a written statement to the assembled media at Advent Health Arena. They said, quote, "The Milwaukee Bucks have boycotted." I'm sorry. This is a. It doesn't say who wrote this article, but it just says, according to NBA.com, the Milwaukee Bucks have boycotted Game 5 of their first-round series versus the Orlando Magic this afternoon. The team provided the following statement, quote, "The past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African-American communities. Citizens across the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in their home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action, so our focus today cannot be on basketball. When we take the court and represent Milwaukee and Wisconsin, we are expected to play at a high level, give maximum effort, and hold each other accountable. We hold ourselves to that standard, and in this moment, we are demanding the same from our lawmakers and law enforcement. We are calling for the justice of we are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin state legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address the issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. We encourage all citizens to educate themselves, take peaceful and responsible action, and remember to vote on November 3rd. I also just want to throw in that as of 5:55 p.m. right now, and about an hour or so ago, the Wisconsin. I was listening to the Wisconsin District. Attorney General and the Kenosha County District Attorney. Giving an update. Long story short, they just made it clear it's an ongoing investigation. There's still parts that they're looking at when it comes to the video and what happened, and unfortunately, as I mentioned, I have a degree in criminal justice, and unfortunately, for our instant 24/7 social media cycle, justice is slow. And these investigations, take time. So, I hope that this situation will get resolved quickly. But tape doesn't lie, and facts do matter. So, I'm hoping that the right conclusions will be made, and justice will be gotten for Jacob Blake.
And without a doubt, and great points you just made, Justin. And I just got word that most of the MLS matches were postponed as players chose not to play in protest of racial injustice. And Yeah, and as we've been saying, it's pretty much going all over the sports world, not just in the NBA or the WNBA or the MLB. It's going all over the place. So we're living in weird times. So back to the NBA. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, the NBA has scheduled a special board meeting of governors meeting on Thursday morning, sources tell ESPN. And so far, speakers in the meeting of NBA players tonight are NBA President Chris Paul, or NBPA President Chris Paul, NBPA Vice President Andre Iguodala, and Kyle Korver, and Clippers coach Doc Rivers, according to ESPN. So those are the speakers of the NBA players meeting. Those are the speakers of the meeting tonight. But there will be a special board meeting of governors on Thursday morning. So that's pretty much going to be our answer to, will we see the remainder of the rest of the NBA playoffs or not, or any of the bubble playoffs? Because who knows? Maybe the WNBA will follow suit with what the NBA has to do. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean it's a very very fluid situation. Where this just happened. Again, at the time we're doing our podcast, like 5 hours ago. When they announced that they were canceling all the games, so it's an ever changing story. You mentioned a lot of people, were we're a lot of people outside the NBA, that worked in NBA circles. We're supporting this. I'm here to tell you, from everybody I've heard, all the reporters and stuff, that were connected to the NBA, most of the NBA was besides the Milwaukee Bucks were shocked that the Milwaukee Bucks were doing this. Like they didn't see this coming, that they would actually boycott, including like other NBA teams, but after the Milwaukee Bucks announced that that they were going to be doing what they did, I guess they just came to the conclusion that maybe we shouldn't be doing this either. It's not right. We'll just have to see what happens after tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk about it next Wednesday. No matter what happens, all we can do is just pray and hope for the best, and hope that we hope that this situation gets resolved quick, sooner rather than later, and we can get back to basketball.
And without a doubt, and just to basically say this before we go to break, I definitely am happy with how the players are handling this situation, and honestly, I think all we gotta do is just pray, and I'm gonna pray for everyone, pray for peace, pray for the players, pray for the entire world, and pray that we can get over this whole situation, because obviously we're living in tough times. Like 2020 has just been the worst year ever, and even though we were all hoping for a possible comeback in the second half, the deficit keeps growing worse and worse. So that being said, we're still not going to lose hope. My brother and I are not going to lose hope, and
I think the NBA will come back. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, it's a matter of when and not if. So that being said, this was a great little subject to talk about, and great little session to have you on. So thank you very much, Justin, for being a part of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It's definitely an honor to have you on as a guest, and Larry B said it best. I'd definitely be down to have you back through more weeks as a co-host. So we'll probably be seeing you next week. Do you have any parting thoughts, and you want to plug in anything before we head to a commercial break?
No, not really. Just I just completely agree. I would love to keep doing this with you too. Teran, you're my brother. I think you're doing an awesome job. With the podcasts and the play-by-play announcing. And I'd love to continue to talk more about sports and not about other stuff. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully next week, we can talk more about pleasant stuff, as opposed to sports under better circumstances, and not like this. Because again, this just happened like a few hours ago. A few hours prior to us taping the podcast, and I was I called you down. I called you down. Just asking. We didn't even know how we were going to be doing this. We were just going to let it fly and see how it goes. It's not an easy or pleasant subject to talk about, but I think we handled it the best we could.
I definitely agree, and it really helps having you talk about this subject as well, just because you know a lot about criminal justice, and it definitely is a benefit having you, and I definitely appreciate it. So on that note, Larry B says, before we head to a commercial break, he says, "Team, bring on Justin." Ha. So thanks, Larry B. I appreciate it, and yeah. So I'm actually going to take myself a quick commercial break. When I get back, I'll be discussing El Tráfico from last week as the Galaxy pulled off a big upset. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the MLS. So you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, BS3 sports fans? If you love listening to the BS3 Sports Show, check out the weekend wrap-up every Monday at 12:15 Central Time, 1:15 Eastern, recapping the weekend in sports like you never heard it before. Comedy, interactive chat room, it's a must-listen. Weekend wrap-up on Spreaker.com, part of the X Squad. Check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
That is right. You could hear that show along with all of our And yeah, if you heard that little sound, that was my bad. My computer was running low, but we've got it squared away. So welcome back to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show with me, Teran Rodriguez, your host. And thank you to my brother Justin Rodriguez for being a guest here on the show. So I definitely appreciate having him on, and I'm definitely a part of Team Bring On Justin as a co-host for next week as well, and hopefully we do get to talk about more pleasant things. So, as I just said before the commercial break, the MLS has postponed the majority of its games because of the players chose not to go out and play their games because of the racial injustice. The only game that's going on right now is Orlando and Nashville, so interesting to see that. LAFC was supposed to play Salt Lake, but that got postponed. The LA Galaxy were supposed to play Seattle, but that also got postponed. And yeah, it is what it is. And Larry B says that was awesome. Hey, I definitely appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate it, Larry. Thank you for tuning in, my man. And yeah, we'll be having Justin on next week, and who knows? Like, he definitely knows his basketball. Like, if you go back to last week's episode, he just knew basketball by heart, and that just goes to show you that he is a passionate basketball fan, and it's really cool. So anyway, let's talk about last week's. This is pretty much going to be a short little segment. Let's talk about last week's El Tráfico matchup between the Los Angeles Galaxy and LAFC. And the Galaxy surprised me. They actually won. They actually beat LAFC. They beat them 2-0 last week, and Ethan I was tweeting out live updates from the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account. Ethan Zubak scored in the 26th minute, and Sebastian Leggett, I think it's pronounced Leggett, scored in the 54th minute. So everyone's saying it was a stun. I kind of think it was a big stunner. However, for LAFC, bad news arose as Carlos Vela, the reigning MVP, will miss the remaining 5 matches of LAFC's Phase 1 restart with a Grade 2 MCL injury in his right knee. So this was definitely a bummer. Definitely a big loss for LAFC. Now they're going to really have to bank on Diego Rossi for a majority of their offense. I think also Adrian Clark Phillips, I want to say that's his name. Bradley Wright Phillips. I thought, well, I don't know why I was thinking Adrian, but it's whatever. So, Bradley Wright Phillips will have to be the backbone of the offense, as well as Diego Rossi. So, losing Carlos Vela is definitely a big loss, but we'll see how it happens. So we'll see what happens for LAFC, but we don't even know if we're going to get any MLS games, because everything's postponed until possibly everything comes together for a resolution. So we'll have the MLS is a big question mark. Like, again, tonight we were supposed to see the Galaxy take on the Sounders of Seattle, and we were supposed to see LAFC take on Salt Lake. And then Saturday, we were also expected to see LAFC take on... They're not playing on Saturday. We were supposed to see the Galaxy take on the San Jose Quakes. I believe Sunday is when LAFC was supposed to play Seattle. So we don't know if what's to come for the MLS season. But all I know is that the Galaxy are 1-0, and if they do have to cancel the season again, at least the LA Galaxy won their so-called Super Bowl, beating LAFC, and I will be the first to say I was wrong about LAFC. I thought LAFC was going to take the Galaxy to the shed, considering the Galaxy's defense was really horrible, especially in the MLS's back turn, but they really turned a corner this past weekend, and I wanted to call that game, but I think I was busy, considering I was just preparing myself for school, preparing myself mentally, because this week was actually the first week of classes at Long Beach State, so don't worry, I got through them for the most part in one piece. I just have one more tomorrow, and then I will be in the clear to basically watch sports and just take my mind off of this whole negativity. So, as for the LAFC LA Galaxy match, in terms of shots, both teams had 6 shots. However, the LA Galaxy had 6 shots on goal, while LAFC only had 3. Funny thing is that LAFC had possession 58% of the game, while the Galaxy only had the remaining 42. So that's the thing about LAFC. When they have majority of possession when it comes to the game, I would think that LAFC would have at least gotten 1 goal. Like, I think LAFC is a very talented team in terms of offense. Like, I don't know about their goalie. I think their goalie is a little but I think they're much better than getting shut out. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe losing Vela was just took the wind out of their sails quite big. Like, I don't know. Like, LA Galaxy outfouled LAFC 18-9, which is funny. However, LAFC had earned 2 yellow cards to the Galaxy's 1, but who cares? LAFC was offsides 3 times. Holy crud! And as opposed to the Galaxy's only 1 time of being offsides, the Galaxy had 6 corner kicks to LAFC's 4, and then in terms of saves, LAFC had 4 saves, while the Galaxy had 3 saves. So, again, it's a big win for the Galaxy. I did not think they were going to pull the win. I'm going to eat a lot of crow for saying that the Galaxy were going to get the dub, but sure enough, I was very impressed with how the Galaxy did on this past Saturday. I'm kind of disappointed in terms of LAFC, but they did lose Vela to injury, so it's going to be tough for them in terms of possibly winning out their stage 2, their group. What is it? Their stage 2, games or whatnot. So phase 1 restart. So I guess the MLS's back tournament was like the pre-phase, and then this is the phase 1 of the restart. So overall it is a little confusing, but I definitely do got to get in some LAFC, LA Galaxy action, especially since the two just faced each other. And again, I came away impressed on how the Galaxy played. I mean, I didn't think I'd be saying the words, the Galaxy beat LAFC 2-0. Like, if it was like a 1-goal game, I wouldn't have minded. But a 2-goal game, it's like, wow. So good for you, LA Galaxy. So the two are supposed to meet each other in the near future, as the two play each other on, looking it up on the ESPN app. The two face each other on Sunday, September 6th, with a time to be determined. They play on ESPN Plus. I believe that MLS is going to have a tough time in terms of maybe getting on national TV or on ESPN, because I think the NBA playoffs are still going to be happening, and then the NHL playoffs are still happening, and then MLB is still happening, and then the week they play in El Tráfico. Sure enough, they play on the same day the Chargers and the Rams do. So it's going to be tough for them in terms of garnering like viewers. I hope they get the viewers. Like, it's El Tráfico. Like, we don't even know what time they're going to be playing. Like, the time is to be determined. So we'll see. But again, we don't even know if there's going to be another MLS season with it being postponed. So I hope the MLS figures it out. So we'll see. I think it's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. Just going to wrap up the show by talking a little about I'll talk a little about baseball. I mean, simply put, the Angels are pretty much in tank mode. They're pretty much tanking for Kumar Rocker. They did beat the Houston Astros, but that was in a doubleheader, and a big Houston fan, and you all probably know him, H-Town Blake, or Blake Henley, said that the Angels were at least going to get 1 out of 2 from the doubleheader. So good job, Blake. You predicted that correctly. I thought the Astros were just going to sweep away the Angels, but I guess the Astros weren't built for doubleheaders. I don't know. So either way, good for the Angels for getting a game. They're still 10-22 at the halfway point. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't see the Angels going anywhere. As for the other team from Los Angeles, the Dodgers, like I said, their game is postponed against the Giants, but they wound up stumbling in extra innings to the Giants 10-8. So that was kind of a surprise, but San Francisco has been hot as of late, having won 7 in a row. So that's really good on the Giants' part. And if the playoffs start today, the Dodgers would be playing the Giants, and to me, I think the Giants can give the Dodgers a bit of an ugly game. And when it comes to the postseason, Dodgers, they're kind of not to be trusted. So, not trying to be mean to the Dodgers, but honestly, I just don't like. This is kind of their year. Like, I feel that the Dodgers were built for a 60-game season. I think this is definitely their time to shine. Like, Many people will be saying that there will be an asterisk, but honestly, I couldn't disagree with that more. I think a championship is a championship, no matter what the circumstances. The good news for the Dodgers is that the San Diego Padres lost to the Mariners last night, 8-3. Yeah, I didn't expect that. Like, the Dodgers are still 4 games up on the Padres in the NL West. The Padres are in second place behind the Dodgers at 18-13. And if the playoffs started today, they would make the playoffs, so that's a good thing for the Padres. I definitely think the Padres are a postseason team. They definitely did impress me in terms of sweeping the Houston Astros. They swept them on Friday. They swept them 4-3. Saturday they swept them. They beat them 13-2, and then Sunday they beat them 5-3. They also swept the Texas Rangers in all 4 games. So that was a good little bounce back series after getting swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. So good on the Padres. Obviously losing to the Mariners stink, and it's kind of weird because I thought the Mariners are kind of this team that I don't think the Mariners are anywhere good. But surprisingly, they are tied for 3rd in the AL West at 12-19. I mean, Texas is 11-18, but to me, I just don't see the Seattle Mariners, the Texas Rangers, or heaven forbid, the Angels catching the Houston Astros. Like, even if the Astros do finish in second in the AL West, like, I don't see a third team from the AL West going to the playoffs. It's going to be Oakland and Houston, no doubt about that. We may get the wild card teams from the AL East and the AL Central, because the AL Central is looking really good. Like, the Twins and the White Sox are top 2, as well as the Tampa Bay Rays and the Yankees. I think the Yankees have kind of cooled off a little bit, and for the most part, and I think that the Baltimore Orioles have kind of calmed down when it came to their hot start. So, to me, I think the one wild card team will come from the Central, and one wild card team will come from the AL East. If I'm wrong, I'm probably going to be eating a lot of crow. But hey, what's to say? What can we do? As for the NL West, I can see 3 teams from the NL West going to the playoffs. The final spot could get occupied by either Colorado, San Francisco, or Arizona. I think the Diamondbacks have kind of come back down to earth after beating the Oakland A's twice last week, and sweeping the Padres. So, yeah, the Diamondbacks have now lost 5 in a row. They got swept by the Giants. They lost 2 in Oakland to the Athletics, and they play the Rockies tonight in about 20 minutes. So that's going to be something to watch for there. And then, yeah, I think the NL West could have 3, if not 4 teams in the postseason. You also kind of have, the NL East is going to need to take some time, considering the Phillies. The Phillies, I think, had to cancel some games. I have an interesting stat to tell you all. Like, guys. There's this. There was this one stat that I got pulled up that. Oh boy. You Angels fans are going to like this. The Angels, I think coming into that doubleheader yesterday, the Angels had won 9 games. The St. Louis Cardinals, who sat out 2 weeks because of the coronavirus, had won 10. In other words, even though the Angels had played more games, the St. Louis Cardinals, who sat out 2 weeks because of the coronavirus outbreak, had won 10 games. They had won more games than the Angels right there. That just goes to show you the Angels were not built for a 60-game season. It's disappointing. I could not believe it. I just couldn't believe this. This came from Bill Shiken, the baseball beat reporter for the Los Angeles Times, and I just couldn't believe it. It's like, really? Like, dude, that's disappointing right there. I'm sorry, but that was pretty much the final blow right there. And it's pretty much the Angels are in the race for Rocker. Like, they're pretty much going to be trying to tank for Kumar Rocker, a very talented pitcher from Vanderbilt. So I definitely want to see. I think it's pretty much going to be a race for Rocker when it comes to the Angels, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Boston Red Sox. I definitely want the Angels. If anything, the Angels need to get Kumar Rocker because they need pitching. Their pitching is garbage. So yeah. And there was this funny video that I saw, and it really was funny. It was like. Meaning we're first. Yeah, I definitely gotta play this for you all. I think some of you will like it, but yeah, listen.
Number of cases. Now look, we're last, meaning we're first.
That was a little 3-second soundbite from Donald Trump saying, "Look, we're last," meaning we're first. That actually came from a Pirates fan saying, Pirates fans explaining how they're going to get Kumar Rocker. I was laughing at that. I'm sorry, y'all, but that is funny. Like, look, we're last, meaning we're first. Poor Angels. But I really hope next year their front office just focuses on pitching and not so much on the outfield. I don't care about the outfield. Just focus on pitching. Dylan Bundy just isn't going to cut it. I've pretty much said this thousands and thousands and thousands of times on Twitter. Art Moreno may need to sell the team, and the Angels just need to frickin' focus on pitching. That's just me being an angry Angels fan. At least I still have the Dodgers, and at least we still have the Padres. I mean, there's that. So pretty much the Dodgers will continue their series against the Giants until today was postponed. I don't know. I don't think it says that the Dodgers game is slated to still go on, but I don't know. No, it's not. It doesn't say on the MLB website. It still looks like the Dodgers-Giants game is going to go on, so that's a shocker. I thought they were going to at least postpone it. So, darn you, ESPN app. So, yeah, tomorrow the Dodgers conclude their series against the Giants. The Angels actually were supposed to play the Astros today and tomorrow, but it was actually supposed to be a 4-game series, but it's postponed because of the hurricane warnings in Houston, and that Thursday game that the Angels were supposed to play against the Astros, that's going to be moved to Angel Stadium, and it's going to be played in September, so that's a thing. So going into this weekend, the Dodgers play the Texas Rangers. I expect the Dodgers to pretty much just demolish the Rangers. Anything short of a demolishing is disappointing. And as for the Angels, they're kind of going to get a little bit of a break, as they're going to get the Seattle Mariners this weekend at Angel Stadium. Knowing the Angels' luck, they're probably going to lose, which wouldn't surprise me. It would just be the nail in the coffin, because again, the Angels are better than this, but it's pretty much they're on the verge of tanking. If they tank, then they're at least going to get a good pitcher. But if they don't, they're going to ruin their tank, and then for the most part, they're going to try to be competitive. So yeah, there's that. And then the Padres face the Rockies this weekend in a 3-game series, starting. The Mariners-Angels series goes straight till. And the Rockies-Padres series goes straight till Monday, and the Dodgers have the day off on Monday, so that's the thing right there. And then next week, as we come back, you will be seeing the Dodgers take on the Diamondbacks at the Chavez Ravine, and then we will also be seeing the Angels? Where are the Angels? I think the Angels may have next Tuesday off. They have next Tuesday off, and then next Wednesday they open up their series against the Padres, a 2-game series against the San Diego Padres, and it's going to be next Wednesday and on Thursday, and then next week the Dodgers play the Astros in a double in a 4-game series. There are going to be 2 against. Next Friday's matchup against the Astros, it'll be at the Angel Stadium, and then Saturday, I don't know what they plan on. Thousand apologies, everybody. I accidentally hit the button of my headphones. It was actually a remote control to my headphones. I thought something happened with my headset. I thought it shorted out, but I accidentally hit the button to it. Like, there was this mute button on my on the remote control of my headphones. It's like a wired built-in remote control. So yeah, that was my bad. So anyway, as I was saying about the Los Angeles Sparks, the Sparks were actually were one full game behind the Seattle Storm. They were currently in 3rd place, and they were actually supposed to play the Minnesota Lynx today. So that would have been a big game right there. Unfortunately, it got postponed because of reasons. And this kind of makes me wonder something, and this is kind of food for thought, honestly. And this is kind of my food for thought session of the show. Since the WNBA is not in the playoffs yet, or not in the postseason, do they continue to play, or do they just postpone and just wait till this whole thing clears up and they're just fully focused and ready to give 110% once this whole protesting thing ends? So, yeah. So that's kind of your food. Again, that's just food for thought on my part, especially since the season isn't yet in the postseason. So, yeah, the WNBA season hasn't reached the postseason, so that could be some interesting things. Or they could just, like, we'll have to see as the season progresses. But I was very proud of the Sparks on how they have a 7-game winning streak going into this week. It really stinks that we won't be seeing them play the Lynx tonight. Hopefully it is just postponed and we don't see them getting it canceled. As for the Sparks going forward, Friday they play the Connecticut Sun. I believe they did beat the Connecticut Sun early in the season, but anything can happen from here and now. And then closing out the week, the Sparks play the Atlanta Dream on Sunday. I expect the Sparks to do a much better job against the Dream, considering every game is now precious for the Sparks, and especially since they're so close to that final playoff spot, or to the top spot of the Western Conference. Like, if they get that number 1 seed, watch out, everybody, as they're not too far behind, and the Sparks definitely can't afford too many other losses. Like, they have a few more games. Like, next week they play the Dallas Wings. Next Wednesday they play the Dallas Wings, and then next Friday, if we get to there, they play the Seattle Storm, and that's going to be a crucial game. That could be for first place in the Western Conference and in the NBA playoffs. And the Storm has kind of struggled, honestly. I think the Storm have kind of hit a little bump in the road. They did just beat the Indiana Fever, but they actually lost to the Indiana Fever last week, and they also lost to Las Vegas Aces, which was crucial as well. So I think the Storm hit a little bump in the road. If this game does go on, tomorrow the Aces play the Storm. That is a very crucial game for both teams. Like, this could make or break the Aces or the Storm's chance at being the number 1 seed in the up-and-coming NBA playoffs. And this could also help the Sparks get closer, depending on which team wins and which team loses. Like, if the Aces win, then it'll just mean that the Sparks get closer and closer to that possible number 1 seed. They just have to play their cards right, if y'all know what I'm saying. So the final week of the WNBA season is the Sparks playing the New York Liberty, and then they play the Washington Mystics, and then they close out the season against the Las Vegas Aces. That's going to be a huge matchup right there. Like, again, that's another make or break matchup, and every game is now precious for the Sparks if the season doesn't get, like, canceled or whatnot. So we shall see. And I really want to see. I don't know how they're gonna work the Lynx game in. Like, I don't know. I don't think they'd want to play it on Saturday, because then they'd be playing 3 matches in a row. If anything, they'd have to play tomorrow, but then they'd be raggedy for the Connecticut Sun. So it'd be a quick turnaround for the Sparks. So it'd be like no rest for the weary in terms of that aspect. So if anything, the Sparks are going to try to have to make it work. If not, the Sparks and the Lynx may just have to take a double forfeit or something. Either way, it would hurt the Sparks' chances at getting the number 1 seed. But there are much bigger things than the NBA or the WNBA at this point. So, yeah. So So I think it's going to do it for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Before we get on out of here, we got to do some housekeeping, and we got to do some closing time responsibilities. So let's go to the segment of closing time and recap the week of iSports Radio. So Sunday, we had Davidson Crooks and Dentarius Locke with their show, Fast Break. They went on at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and they talked about basketball and whatnot. And I even threw in some WNBA action for them when it came to the chat room. So, yeah. So definitely do check out Fast Break. Davidson and Dentarius do a great job with that. And then on Monday we had The Unfiltered Truth with Phil Jones and Phil Robinson. Those two talked about the Las Vegas Raiders and how Derek Carr needs to step up and how the defense isn't the one that's throwing it into the ground on third down. And as Phil just mentioned, is the defense out here chucking it into the ground on third down? Is the defense throwing it away on fourth down? No! I'm sorry to those that are listening with their headphones, but I'm just quoting Phil and Phil. So, on Tuesday, we had a plethora of shows. Tuesday, we had the Kansas City Shuffle go live with Ryan, the Pez Choir Davis, as well as Greg Porter, Ryan's guest. That airs every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then also on Tuesday, we had Set Point, my other show on iSports Radio, with myself. I had Clay Webb as a guest on the show. He was the head coach of Park University Gilbert's men's and women's volleyball team. They had just completed their first year as a men's and women's volleyball team and their first year as a athletic department as a whole. So definitely do check out that interview, and hopefully I'll have more guests to come on Set Point. And then closing out Tuesday was, while I was doing my show, Set Point, Brandon Buckingham and Blake Henley went live with their show, Bases Loaded, on which they went live on StreamYard as opposed to going live on Spreaker. So that's kind of cool. It really stinks that I have to tune in late to their show, but it is what it is, so I'm sure they could forgive me. Brandon and Blake both go on live on StreamYard/YouTube every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. They changed their time, so it because I guess it helps out their schedule as well. And then closing out the week of Tuesday, Marcus Losgreat had his show, Gloves Off, which talked about combat sports and Oscar De La Hoya and how he was been eating too many tacos and sitting on the couch. Kind of reminds me of me a little, so yeah. Now moving on to Wednesday, which was today, we had Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Karnick, and he brought on his guest. I believe his name was AC Flock, or AC Flockavelli, as his Twitter name is shows up as. Those two talked fantasy football and all things Chicago sports, including the Chicago Bears. That goes on every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also today was supposed to be the inaugural episode of the State of Ohio Sports. Unfortunately, there was a few technical hitches, but that's okay, because eventually we will get our Ohio show back up and running. I'm confident we will, we will get the Ohio show back up and running. And then obviously we have my show going on today, so that's the thing. Thursday we have the Extra Mile. Thursday, which is tomorrow, we have the Extra Mile with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Michael Ward, and we'll probably get Lolita Camello, as she's been appearing as a guest. And by the way, I definitely do want to give a shout out to the Extra Mile for surpassing 5,000 downloads on Spreaker. So I talked about how Set Point just recently surpassed 5,000 downloads, but I think the Extra Mile is like one of the longest running shows at iSports Radio, so that's huge right there. So big props to the Extra Mile for surpassing 5,000 downloads. I hope we get a 5,000 download special from them soon. If not, it's no big deal. They'll probably be recapping the Indy 500, so definitely do check out the Extra Mile whether you're a racing fan or not. Friday we have The Neutral Zone with Robert Kavanaugh. He is the only show that's going to be on Friday, and he talks about the NHL and all things hockey. That airs at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Definitely do check that out, as Robert does a really good job with his show. And then on Saturday, closing out the week, we have Down in H-Town with Corey Walker. He talks about all things Houston sports. That show airs at 5 p.m. Central, or 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you are safe if you're listening to this, Corey. Also, a weekly show that goes on is the Sports Brunch with Matt Owens and Seth Eves. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get anything. We have not had the Sports Brunch this week, considering Matt Owens is feeling a little under the weather. Sending all my best wishes out to Mr. Matt Owens. Hope you feel better, buddy, and hopefully we will be hearing you this week along with Seth Eves for the Sports Brunch. Definitely a great show. That show is not only on iSports Radio, but it's also on USRN, so that's the thing as well. And make sure to check out iSports Radio's website. We have a lot of merchandise there. We have t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, even caps. And definitely sign up for our news board and check out our blog as well. And sign up for our newsletter to definitely get the latest of everything that's going on in terms of iSports Radio. So definitely do check out the iSports Radio website. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Click that bell for notifications, and definitely give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and definitely listen to us on Spotify as well as TuneIn and other platforms that iSports Radio has housed as well, and maybe iHeartRadio as well. I think iSports Radio is on iHeartRadio with the Defining Moment and whatnot. So that's going to be that for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you to my guest, Justin Rodriguez, for joining me as a guest on this show. Definitely do appreciate it. Definitely appreciate having my brother on the show. And hopefully we will be having him on next week, which we definitely will. Without any further delay, it's time to get on out of here because it is way past my supper time. So thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I know it was a little more serious, but we need to get this. I feel we talked about all the social issues that were going on today to the best of our abilities. If you weren't comfortable with today's episode, you can message me on Facebook, or not Facebook, Twitter, via my Twitter account being at Teran Rodriguez 1, or you can message the SoCal Supreme Sports Show account. You can follow that at SoCal Show IESR. You can follow me on Twitter at Teran Rodriguez 1, and definitely do check out the rest of iSports Radio shows. So for everyone here at iSports Radio and my guest, Justin Rodriguez, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off, y'all. Have a great rest of the night, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Good night, everybody.
Audio Jungle.